Hey YouTube, I've decided to call this whole series Ramblings with Liz because I just ramble. But you know what today's ramble is all about? It is about the difference between having all of the information in the world and execution. And I'm going to give you a little story because for most of you who will get to know me, and I hope you all get to know me, and quite frankly, I hope you like me because I have a long running childhood story. Nobody likes me, everybody hates me in the background. So this is all very brave and very bold for me to just show up and do my ramblings. If you like my ramblings and this is not your first time here, click the like button for me. It will help me. It's not a vanity thing for me as much as a just a calming reassurance. But anyway, I digress. Information, dressage. I ride horses. And a lot of what I do is about that. It's around that. It's really a big part of who I am. And I used to shrink back from that. In fact, everything, right? I have this inferiority complex, unless I'm in my old role as a program manager, and then heaven help me, I don't have that. But in my personal stuff, I had a big inferiority complex. I always thought everybody else was better, everybody else knew more. I could never be like them, and just felt small and shrunk away. And it's quite funny when I love a sport that I used to compete in, i.e., let judges tell me all of the wrong things, because very seldom do they tell you the right things. And so, because I love the sport passionately and it's all I think about, I have over 200 plus books on dressage. Just that topic, dressage. In fact, I should take a photo just so that you know and figure out how to insert it here. And then I could go, look, here they are. I digress again. So, why am I talking about that? Because here's what the difference truly is. When we take a piece of information to learn and understand and grow from it, we undergo a transformation. We undergo growth. We change our identity. We shift. We move. And that's something that I didn't do. Full transparency, right? I would read the books. Well, half the time I didn't read the books. I have a whole collection, but cracking them open and digesting them. I would read it. I would go down. I would apply it once because I have a fear of failure. And so I'm applying it once. It didn't work immediately. So I'm thinking, well, it didn't work. So I'll come and get another book and I'll read what they say and I'll try that once. And that didn't work. You can imagine poor Vinny, because usually Vinny, because Vinny is my bestest horse. And he's the one that I've had as a serious horse here in New Zealand for years. So he's the one that unfortunately has had a lot inflicted upon him. And he would be the one that, one day he's got somebody speaking Japanese to him, then they're speaking Greek, then they're speaking Spanish, then they're speaking English, then they're speaking Portuguese, i.e., it's a lot of different languages because my aids are my languages, how I communicate and talk to him happening on him. And the end result was neither one of us got any better because he couldn't keep up with all my changes and I didn't practice and implement that information long enough to get the result because my brain would offer it's not working. And I was very, very lucky in that when I rode up in the Netherlands, my horses were trained. I just got on them and pressed buttons. And yes, of course, that still takes expertise. It still takes skill. I'm not saying it doesn't, but you didn't train them. All you're doing is figuring out the buttons to get the movement that you want. And, those were highly trained horses that I could almost think it and feel it and they would execute it. So poor Vinny, who was completely untrained, had that level of expectation on him because the horse was fabulous and he still is fabulous. But as a 4-year-old, he was pretty breathtakingly fabulous, if not, anyway, his whole training was not ideal. And he bears the consequence of that to this day. And I have learned and grown and developed so much that I now get information on its own is brilliant, but it's no good. It's not the execution. And my think framework, that is the K, that is the knowledge, that is why it's there. Because we can get all of the knowledge, all of the information, but it's useless if we don't actually start to use it, apply it, and let it change who we are in some small way. And that's why, my identity shift masterclass that I do now took me 5 years to get to this masterclass, right? And I think this is everything And this is the one that has me so excited, so pumped up, so here, because working through that over the last few weeks and breaking through and understanding that I have something to share, that I have something unique to offer. And it's because my Think framework came through an information application result process. I know it works. I can teach it and it works for other people. It changes their lives. But here's what happens. We all have a set point. So this has to be constant. And I remember when I went through my big transformation, I sat there and I thought to myself, I am done. I am no longer, trigger warning, suicidal. I am no longer depressed. I no longer live life thinking everybody's out to get me. I just love it. I took back control and I developed some really good ways of thinking. And even when I'm in the process of having a little drama outburst, because I was used to be a big drama queen, I now am able to coach myself through that. Or even with my partner, if my partner irks me, and of course it's always the ones closest to us that irk us the most, then instead of just reacting to that or falling into the pattern of what I used to fall into, I used to just stop and ask myself a question. Do you want the rest of your day to be ruined? Because that would be the consequence of my action. And because I was able to put what I call in this little sort of stop point, it's like a interrupt pattern breakthrough, I changed how I reacted, which changed him. He didn't have to change. He didn't do any work. He thinks he's perfect. He ain't, but he thinks he is. But because I changed how I was reacting, he had no choice but to change. And that is why it only takes one person in a relationship to change the relationship. You can have all sorts of negative thoughts about that. What do I have to do with the work? Why can't he change? But at the end of the day, it's about you, how you feel in your life. And do you want to experience a lot more joy, a lot more happiness, a lot more productivity in your business, a lot more belief, love, joy, passion, enthusiasm? Then it has to be you that does that identity shift work and learns pattern interrupts. And here's what I wanted to say. So I got to the point where everything was so much better. And then I thought I was cooked. I was done. It would stay that way. And over a period of 6 months, I slowly came back to the less than happy me because I'd stopped doing the work. And my little lizard brain, who I always talk about as being on my rock, and here he is, the little lizard. Oh, that literally was something hanging to my lizard. He would drag me back into the cave and have me doing all of my old ways, my old habits, my old routines, my old way of thinking. And that's what we have to be ever vigilant for. And that's why I have my club. Because my club, yes, it teaches people strategies. I help them plan things out. I give step-by-step processes, but it's not the information. It's who you're being, executing the information that matters. And that's why some of us need support with that. I need support with that, right? Because this little lizard, he's strong. I've got a Yoda voice. The strength is strong in this one. And the reality is I like to now talk about it as being we're up on a walk and there's that well-trodden path. And it's so easy just to go down that well-trodden path, but we have to look up. We have to look at all of the weeds, all of the woods, all of the areas that are all gnarly and take our machetes and cut a new pathway. Because if we don't do that in our brains, and that's really what my Think framework is helping everybody do, if we don't do that, we will go down that well-trodden pathway, and that well-trodden pathway just gives you what you've already got. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you in the patterns that you're in. And that's why, to me, this is everything. So if you are somebody struggling with building your business, I want you to stop and think about, well, what am I doing in my business life that I see in my personal life? And why am I doing that? And get aware of that. And, I do things like thought downloads. I have lots of books everywhere where I just scribble what my brain thinks, because I have a brain that likes to think 50,000 million thoughts every second of every day. And a lot of them are those well-trodden pathway negative cycles that will not give me the new results I want. So I have to be ever vigilant. This work does not stop. That's why I have my club, because we feel good and we think we've got it. And if we are not continually transforming and growing and developing and moving up that teeny tiny staircase to our next level of breakthrough, or our next level of thinking, or our next level of executing in our businesses or in our lives, we will fall back. So don't beat yourself up. Just become aware. Awareness is the key. It is the transformation. And I know nobody wants to buy mindset and everybody wants to buy $50,000 and 77 clients, but you can't get $50,000 and 77 clients if you don't change how you show up in the world. You cannot outperform the way you think. So if you're not getting what you want, and really for me, life and business, that's why it's LB fundamentals. Yes, my name's Liz, but it's LB for life and business. Then you're in charge. You get to decide. This isn't gaslighting. This isn't making you in the wrong. It's just making you aware. And when we have awareness, we have power. And when we have power, we have control. And when we have control, we have choice. And we have a choice to make. We have decisions to make. Do we want to stay who we are? And if we do, nothing wrong. Just like where you are, like that decision. And if you want more or you want change, understand it's got to start with you. And for me, it's got to start with the way I think, because my thoughts rule everything. Right, so that's my Liz's ramblings for today. As I said, if you like it, subscribe. I'm going to do a lot of these ramblings. Hit the thumbs up button and tell everybody about me if that's what you want to do. Alrighty, I will see you in the next one.